The crisp autumn wind cut through Sarah Miller's thin jacket as she shuffled down Fifth Avenue. She clutched her medical file in one hand, the other deep in her pocket, fingers wrapped around her last $20 bill. Terminal. Stage 4. 3 months to live. The doctor's words echoed in her head, drowning out the bustling New York traffic. At 53, Sarah never imagined her life would end this way. Alone, broke, and dying. The treatments had drained her savings. Her insurance had maxed out, and now, with no more options, she had just filled her last prescription. That's when she saw him. Huddled against the brick wall of the pharmacy, a man with a weathered face and intelligent eyes sat quietly. No sign asking for money, no cup for coins, just a stillness that seemed out of place amid Manhattan's chaos. Something about his dignity struck her. Unlike the other homeless people she passed daily, this man seemed displaced, as if he'd fallen from another life entirely. "Spare some change, ma'am?" His voice carried an unexpected eloquence. Sarah stopped, looking down at her last $20. Meant for tomorrow's bus fare and a simple meal. She made a split-second decision that would alter both their lives forever. "Here," she said, pressing the bill into his palm. "I won't be needing this where I'm going anyway." As their hands touched, he looked up, studying her face with unexpected intensity. "You're ill," he said. "Not a question, but a diagnosis." "How did you—" "Your sclera has a yellowish tint, and your breathing pattern suggests pain in your upper right quadrant." He spoke with the precision of someone who knew exactly what he was talking about. Sarah stepped back. "Who are you?" "These days, nobody. Name's Jack. Jack Thornton." His eyes flickered with something. Recognition, perhaps. "And you shouldn't be alone right now." "I don't need anyone's pity," Sarah snapped, instantly regretting both her tone and her impulsive charity. The last thing she needed was some street prophet analyzing her condition. Jack stood up, surprisingly tall when not hunched against the wall. His shabby coat couldn't hide an unmistakable air of authority. "Not offering pity, just an observation." He handed back the 20. "Keep your money. You need it more than I do." "No." Sarah pushed his hand away. Something in her refused to take back the gift. "Consider it my final good deed." A strange look crossed Jack's face, recognition mixed with concern. "Which hospital are you with?" "Memorial Sloan. Not that it matters anymore. They've done what they could." Her voice cracked. Discussing her death with a complete stranger on a New York sidewalk wasn't how she'd planned to spend her afternoon. They stood awkwardly as pedestrians streamed around them. Jack's penetrating gaze never left her face. "Show me your file." "Excuse me? That's private medical." "Your skin tone indicates jaundice, but your eyes show no signs of hepatic encephalopathy. Something doesn't add up." He spoke with the confidence of someone used to being obeyed in medical settings. Against all reason, Sarah handed him the file. His fingers, though dirty, moved through the pages with practiced precision. He muttered medical terminology under his breath, pausing occasionally to ask sharp questions about her symptoms. "Who prescribed this treatment protocol?" he demanded, pointing to a particular page. "Dr. Whitaker. He's supposed to be the best oncologist in the city." Jack's face darkened. "I know Richard Whitaker, brilliant diagnostician, lousy with pancreatic presentations." "How would you know that?" Sarah asked, her heart suddenly racing. "Because," Jack said, closing the file, 15 years ago, I was chief of surgery at Mayo Clinic, and your diagnosis is wrong." Sarah laughed bitterly. The claim seemed absurd. A disheveled homeless man once a top surgeon? Right, and I'm the Queen of England. Jack didn't smile. Look up John Jack Thornton, Mayo Clinic, 2008. Pioneered the Thornton method for pancreatic resection. He handed back her file. You don't have 3 months, Sarah. Based on these numbers, you have weeks, unless your treatment changes immediately. A chill ran through her that had nothing to do with the autumn air. Something in his eyes, a clarity, a certainty, made her hesitate. Come with me, she said suddenly, surprising herself. They walked 3 blocks to a coffee shop. The barista eyed Jack suspiciously as Sarah ordered 2 coffees. At a corner table, Jack explained what he saw in her file. Your markers indicate biliary tract obstruction, not pancreatic tissue involvement. Similar presentation, drastically different prognosis. His finger traced a line of numbers on her labs. Whitaker missed it. Happens more than you'd think. If you're really who you say, why are you... Sarah gestured vaguely at his appearance. Jack's eyes clouded. 10 years ago, I lost a patient, Senator James Conway. Routine procedure gone wrong. Media frenzy, death threats. The hospital stood by me, but I couldn't stand myself. He stared into his coffee. One day I walked out of my office and just kept walking. That doesn't explain living on the streets for a decade. After my wife left, drinking became easier than feeling. Lost my license, my home, eventually my identity. He looked up. Until today, I hadn't read a medical chart in 6 years. Sarah pulled out her phone, hesitated, then typed Dr. John Thornton, Mayo Clinic. Her eyes widened as images appeared. A distinguished surgeon accepting awards, giving lectures. The same penetrating eyes now staring at her from across a chipped Formica table. Oh my God, she whispered. It really is you. Was me, Jack corrected. But none of that matters now. What matters is getting you a second opinion before it's too late. The next morning found Sarah and Jack in the waiting room of Manhattan General. She'd used her last connection, an old college roommate who now worked as a nurse, to secure an emergency appointment with Dr. Elena Rodriguez, an oncologist Jack insisted was the only one in the city who might listen. They won't let you in with me, Sarah whispered, eyeing Jack's ragged appearance. They don't need to. Jack scribbled something on a napkin. Just get this note to Rodriguez. She'll know. When the nurse called her name, Sarah clutched the napkin like a lifeline. Dr. Rodriguez, a stern-faced woman with silver-streaked hair, barely looked up from the chart as Sarah entered. Mrs. Miller, I don't usually take walk-ins, but please read this, Sarah interrupted, sliding Jack's napkin across the desk. Dr. Rodriguez's expression transformed as she read the note. Where did you get this? Her voice sharpened. Who gave this to you? He says his name is Jack Thornton. Rodriguez stood abruptly, moving to the window. In the parking lot below, Jack paced nervously. My God, she whispered. Jack Thornton, we all thought he was dead. Within hours, Sarah found herself undergoing new scans. Rodriguez moved with urgent efficiency, occasionally consulting with Jack via Sarah's phone. Hospital staff whispered as the disheveled man's instructions were relayed to one of their top doctors. Your friend was right, Rodriguez confirmed that evening, laying out a new set of images. It's not pancreatic cancer. It's a rare form of cholangiocarcinoma, bile duct cancer. Still serious, but potentially treatable with the right approach. Can you help me? Sarah asked, hope flickering for the first time in months. I can try, but, Rodriguez hesitated, the procedure you need is complex. Few surgeons attempt it, and fewer succeed. She looked meaningfully at Sarah. There's only one person I'd trust with this surgery. Sarah followed her gaze out the window, where Jack stood in the shadow of a street lamp, looking up at the hospital that had once been his natural habitat. But he doesn't have a license anymore, Sarah whispered. He can't operate. No, Rodriguez agreed. He can't, unless... 2 days later, Sarah lay prepped for surgery, the anesthesia already making her drowsy. Through the haze, she heard raised voices in the hallway. "This is completely unethical." A man's voice. Dr. Whitaker, her original oncologist. "He's unlicensed, probably hasn't touched a scalpel in years." "He'll be assisting me officially," Dr. Rodriguez responded firmly. "I take full responsibility." "The board will hear about this," Whitaker threatened. "You're risking everything on the word of a derelict." The doors swung open, and Sarah glimpsed Jack, clean-shaven, haircut, wearing borrowed scrubs. Next to Rodriguez, the transformation was startling. Despite his still gaunt face, he carried himself with the unmistakable authority of an elite surgeon. "Sarah." Jack approached, his eyes clear and focused. "Dr. Rodriguez will lead, but I'll be there every step. Do you trust me?" "Why are you doing this?" Sarah managed, fighting the sedation. "Why risk everything for a stranger?" Jack's expression softened. $20, he said simply. "When you had nothing left to give, you gave anyway. Some debts can't be repaid except by paying forward." The surgery lasted 9 hours. Midway through, complications arose that even Rodriguez hadn't anticipated. Hospital staff later whispered about the moment when, facing catastrophic bleeding, Rodriguez stepped back and simply said, "Take over, Jack." In that critical moment, Jack Thornton performed what one nurse later described as surgical poetry. His hands moved with impossible precision, implementing a variation of his own technique that wasn't in any textbook. "I've never seen anything like it," the anesthesiologist told reporters later. "It was like watching Picasso paint." When Sarah finally woke in recovery, Rodriguez sat beside her bed. "We got it all," she said, smiling. "Your prognosis is excellent." Sarah blinked, still groggy. "Jack?" Rodriguez's smile faded. "He left as soon as we closed. Security tried to stop him. The hospital administrator wanted to speak with him, but he disappeared." She placed something in Sarah's hand, the $20 bill she'd given him days before, now folded into an origami crane. On it, he'd written, "Some gifts must keep flying. Your life is yours again. Use it well." 6 months later, Sarah stood at the podium of the Manhattan Medical Association's annual fundraiser, her voice steady as she addressed the crowd of physicians and donors. "When I received my diagnosis last fall, I didn't just lose hope. I lost myself. But sometimes miracles come disguised as tragedies." She touched the scar hidden beneath her elegant blouse. "And sometimes angels look like homeless men." After her recovery, Sarah had launched a foundation to provide medical advocacy for terminal patients seeking second opinions. The Second Chance Initiative had already helped 12 patients discover misdiagnoses, 4 of whom had conditions similar to her own. As she concluded her speech to thunderous applause, Sarah scanned the ballroom. For weeks, she'd placed ads in every newspaper, left messages at shelters, and hired investigators, all trying to locate Jack. He'd vanished as completely as he'd appeared. The reception afterward buzzed with Manhattan's elite discussing her remarkable story. Sarah nodded politely at their well wishes while watching the entrance. Just as she was about to leave, Dr. Rodriguez approached with a man Sarah didn't recognize, distinguished in a perfectly tailored suit. "Sarah," Rodriguez said, "I'd like you to meet Dr. Thomas Jackson, our new visiting professor of surgical innovation." The man turned, and Sarah froze. The eyes were unmistakable, though the gaunt face had filled out, the haunted expression replaced with calm assurance. "Hello, Sarah," Jack said quietly. Later, walking through Central Park as evening fell, they exchanged the details of their transformed lives. After the surgery, Jack had checked himself into rehabilitation. Rodriguez had fought for his reinstatement with the medical board, using Sarah's case as evidence of his extraordinary skill. "I don't operate much," Jack explained. "Mostly teach now, showing young surgeons how to see what others miss." "You saved more than my life that day," Sarah said, stopping near the fountain. "You saved yourself." Jack shook his head, smiling. "No, Sarah. You saved me with a $20 bill and the courage to trust a stranger. I just returned the favor." As they continued walking, autumn leaves swirled around them. Two lives, blown together by chance, forever changed by compassion. Behind them, the hospital lights glowed against the darkening sky, where countless other stories of despair and hope played out every day, reminding us all that sometimes the hand that lifts us from our darkest moment comes from the most unexpected place.